turn the lights down. Throw on one of my t-shirts, it's like a nightgown. And would you like one of these? It's harmless. It'll make you feel real good, promise. I take one too. You know what I'm saying? It's nothing but a thing, you know what I mean?
I'm gonna do it.
All right. All right. We are live now, boys.
I love you.
What the fuck? Anyways,
Hello, hello.
good evening, everybody else. Welcome to tonight's podcast.
Sound is good.
Yeah. So, if anything, we're missing our favorite co host, Victor, but he's currently eating booty right now. I mean, dim sum.
All right, I'm going to eat
Favorite.
shit. I'll go eat shit now. Eat your favorite.
Yeah, what?
Goddamn.
Why would you do that?
What would
Well,
you do?
well, shit, all right, my bad. But, anyways, he'll be back on shortly. He's pretty much going to be out for a bit, anyways. But we could go ahead and start the show here. So, how's everyone doing tonight?
Good,
Good.
good.
Very good. Got
Don't you
How
lie to
about
me,
you,
Michael.
Brian?
You fucking got sick on me, you bitch. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but tonight I'm doing better. The whole week I was doing absolutely abysmal, but I'm doing a lot better now.
Good. Because right now I made you do some last minute shit to do ready for this topic. We're gonna talk about um in this case, it's gonna be about games once again too, because the shocker to everybody, we're fucking gamers.
We are?
Are you not?
I'm just saying, I think some of us here are phony gamers.
Ooh.
Nah.
Game posers.
It's like more like gay.
Whoa.
Nah, that's you.
Damn. But let's continue on with it. What are we talking about today? Well, we are going to be talking about a more recent case, a lawsuit or a class action lawsuit being built up against Ubisoft. So, therefore, what did Ubisoft do this time? Well, to narrow it down, it's more like what they already did like few months back, which is in this case for anybody that was there when the news announced. Probably not. I'm the only one that pays attention to this shit anyways. But here we go. We in this case are looking at the game called The Crew, which is a online, or it's Ubisoft's attempt to make essentially an MMO racing game. So
It was
either
released. It was released in 2014, right?
yeah, it's very much a very old game at the current rate that this is going. It was old enough that at that point too, Lloyd was attending high school. Me, Michael, and Victor were attending college first year.
Is there?
Ooh man,
Sure.
sorry, I had that burp building up in me. But yes, so in this case, what's going on with Ubisoft and The Crew? Well, to explain this even further, what it is, because of the nature of how The Crew is actually played, you have to first be able to log into Ubisoft or the Uplay account, which in turn means that you have to have a Ubisoft account if you already had like a Xbox, PlayStation, or a PC account. So it's already another layers of annoyance to actually play the game. But even once you get in as well, if you don't have a valid internet connection, you legitimately won't be able to play the game. Which was something that a lot of people were pushing against for quite some time, which are in this case games that have DRM. Or if anything, can one of you guys look up in the site? Or actually, I could quickly look this up. What does DRM mean in terms of games? Give me 1 second.
I hope you know because you're the one that mentioned it and I had no fucking idea.
Yeah. So let's see. It means like digital rights management. So it's essentially what it means is a copy protection and technical protection measure employed by companies to limit the manipulation and copying of game data and content by end users after the purchases, downloads, and or install of the product. It's effectively a protection for the company side so that one, it's to counter against pirating or a lot of people that pirate the games. Now, in cases like that, I don't think there's anything wrong with the company pursuing that for sure. But the only way how they ensured that it wouldn't be copied was literally for the fact that It was a piece of code that literally will not make your game work if you were not connected to the internet. If you had a copied or pirated base game, it would not have this important piece of code in there, no matter how well they did it. And it was just legit unplayable. Or in this case, people would pirate the game and would just not work. But it ended up being a double-edged sword too, because let's say you own the game, right? But you live in an area where internet connection can be spotty, which was pretty common back then.
For sure.
Yeah, so imagine like you just randomly get kicked out of your single-player game just because your internet went out.
So wait, that was the whole reason
Yeah.
that like a lot of these games that are very playable single player or have to have an online connection is for anti-piracy.
Yes.
What?
Yeah. If you don't believe me for that one too, there's like a whole like list of videos.
I believe that companies like that would choose a very nuclear option instead of doing and being more smart about it.
Yeah. So if anything right now, but gamers kind of failed in like trying to push back against this, because now we had even way more games that actually have like DRM features. In this case, more popular AAA titles like Diablo 3, Super Mario Run, and StarCraft 2. Diablo 3 was heavily criticized for its use of always on DRM until recently they did patch it out so that people were able to play it offline. So that was a whole thing happening there.
Oh, so they can just like remove that piece of code and then therefore it's all good.
Yeah. But
So then
here's the
why-
other point of that too. It's the matter of like it doesn't really like solve the issue anyways that they were fighting against for piracy. Because half the times too, there were in this case roundabout ways to try to go through DRM, although it's also still a pain in the ass for the pirators, but it can still be done. But it was just again, just literally more annoyance on the customer base that obviously they don't partake in piracy in the first place. And it's just there. And depending on their situation, it will literally hinder their gaming experience.
Yeah, no. So my question then is, when it comes down to the crew, I'm assuming the reason why it needs to be online is DRM purposes. And if that
Well-
is the case, is that the case?
Not this one. This one, though, is mostly
Wow.
because of the fact that the crew itself, despite the fact that if you play the game, it looks like a lot of the features can be straight up be played like a single player. But because there's so much online connectivity that a lot of it feature has, where it's because the crew was supposed to be like a racing MMO. And so by the time like it reached that age too, because like we already had like sequels to the game, like The Crew 2 or The Crew Underground or some shit like that. But once, if anything, it lived out its past in Prime and whatnot, Ubisoft has deemed it to shut down the game because obviously, because of the nature being online, they had to run it off of like Ubisoft's own servers. And therefore it takes up resources. And if there's not enough players playing the game, there's really no point of like keeping the servers up, which in this case for Ubisoft, I don't blame them for that. They have more than the right to at least disable service if it doesn't make them money. However, there's the other side of the argument of saying that the people that want to just play this game without any online connectivity services, but with the crew, it actually cannot because of how much of the feature relies solely on online connectivity.
Yeah, and I think that was like that was missed by the developer or purposefully just like neglected because like they clearly didn't. I'm expecting they didn't think this was going to be a big backlash for stopping the service.
Now, if anything, the lawsuit in question now that I'm about to dive into, it's not particularly pertains to the crew itself. It's more or less pertaining into, in this case, setting up guidelines and setting up stuff such that developers won't just make games that are straight up, that are super reliant on the company servers. Essentially, what it's trying to fight for is, in this case, for you to rightfully own your digital copy games.
Yeah. No, I'd be frustrated if I bought a game and then like I wanted to go back and play it like like 6-7 years later and it no longer works because the servers are offline. Like,
Yeah.
why did I pay all that money for that?
Yeah,
Like, you know how
it's-
frustrated I would be if I went to World at War and couldn't play the campaign or zombies anymore?
Oh yeah, like imagine this then, Loy. Well, actually, you don't need to imagine. This is currently somewhat of like an actual fear that's going to be happening too. Because Loy, you just bought Ghost Recon Wildlands.
Yeah, and it's been bugging. Oh, welcome, Victor.
Oh, there it
hello,
is.
hello.
But yeah,
Man of the hour.
it's been bugging a lot. It's been crashing on me. Like it crashed on me like 4 or 5 times. I don't know if it's like really the server or not. But
So
it wraps into the issue of since it has a campaign where you can play solo and co-op. If they're gonna take away that online like multiplayer co-op for the campaign, is that that's might take away the single player. And playing single player on that game is already fun as it is.
mhm.
So if they take away the entirety of the game, then that's just why even make the game in the first place if you're not gonna have the contingency plan of if we're gonna do this, let's make it available for people to play offline, so that way they can play on their own time. So maybe because they want to play maybe they want to play by themselves.
Yeah, because the real argument, because the real argument right now is the fact that the players start to feel like we don't actually fucking own these games anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just feels more and more that like you are not actually buying to have ownership of it. We're paying for the rights to play the game.
Paying to play or paying for the rights to play the game for however long they decide.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think this is also going to be literally a problem that a lot of Ubisoft games will have because they are all intrinsically they are connected to the Uplay servers. So, it's going to be something that I do think this lawsuit will have to force Ubisoft to really address this issue, just because this is already something that we've already like predicted that was going to happen, especially when we see the whole rise of a lot of MMO games coming up too. And then if
Wait,
you
there's
think
a
about,
lawsuit?
Excuse me.
yeah,
You said
yeah,
there's a lawsuit?
yeah, there's going to be, or if anything, there's like a whole like campaign lawsuit case that are going into like push for governance or push for like more additional restrictions and legislation on trying to limit the usages of making companies whenever they disable any online services that it will render the product that the customer buys absolutely useless. Because
Oh, I thought it was a petition that people were signing.
yeah, I mean,
Or
it's essentially a
getting ready to sign.
petition. It's essentially a petition, but at the rate that it is going to, it will probably have to be addressed. It will have to be addressed. But if anything, if that was going to be addressed, it is going to be a lawsuit class action, just because this has to like be a standard through all gaming industries, which is going to be something interesting. But yeah, to catch you up, Victor, we are talking about the whole Ubisoft registration and also the crew shutting down because of online services. Was there anything else you would like to add?
Like, sounds like a mess already.
when has Ubisoft never been in a mess?
For real.
It's
Playing a
like,
game that
Yeah, bro. Whenever
crashed
they
on me.
became a quadruple A company, bro, that's when they became a real mess.
look, they made one game and it was
Getting
a
what they
Prince of Persia
deserved.
game.
They clowned themselves.
Like, now, mind you, there's like a lot of things to really like take apart for this conversation piece, right? Such as like, where does this mean for like the future of games at this point, where there's already a narrative title? It's like literally these bigger companies that do make them, a lot of players start to feel like you will own nothing and you will be happy about it. So shut up and pay for our service, kind of thing.
You own nothing and be happy is a philosophy that we're all going towards right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that just applies to everything, not just games.
Yeah. And it's like, if anything, it has like a lot of like mixed interpretations, or if anything, most of the interpretations are still bad regardless.
Mhm.
Just because of the fact that a lot of the times too, whenever we buy games, we do expect to somehow own it in some capacity, right?
Well, let's be honest here. Like, I understand that if we buy a game, we should own it. But let me ask you all realistically, what games have you played recently that you played as a kid or a long time ago?
Well, long time ago, it would have had to be like a Mass Effect, but that's like the legendary like edition stuff now because I can't really play the old stuff anymore because I never really owned it. I pirated that shit. But I'll explain
Okay,
on
well,
that
anyways,
more.
It's
I'll
you're
explain
the
on,
reason.
so
That's the point.
I'll explain on that more. All right. I'll explain on that more in the meantime, but that's the only example I can give right now too. Do you guys have any your own examples?
Well, let's answer Victor's question first.
No, that's what I
that's
meant.
what he
That's what I
wanted.
meant.
That's what he wanted.
Restate your question.
It's like
So what game? What old? Stop.
no.
Pause. So what old games have you played recently? Any old game, like a childhood game or anything like that. What kind of games like that have you played recently? Like now, recently?
Not the
World
remastered
at
version.
War.
Okay,
The original World at War.
Okay. What'd you
Man.
say, Loy? Remastered? I mean, that's
No,
remastered.
none,
That's
not like none
I
of the
played-
remasters.
I played
Like it's the original
Gears-
console.
Gears of War, the original Gears of War. I played Gears of War 2 and 3. I wanted to try out the Horde modes again. They don't live
so
up to
recently,
the
as in
standards when
like
you're
the
playing.
past. So recently, as in like the past year, at the lit.
Yes,
Okay.
within the past year.
Okay.
I did Ace Combat 6.
I also did the original Modern Warfare 2. The
Modern Warfare 2.
Hey, man.
original
Oh,
Modern Warfare
yes.
2.
Yes.
But-
I always love going back and playing the like makeshift horde mode thing they had. Like, it was just like, or was that number 3? No, it was number 3 that they had that, where it was just basically wave survival.
Yeah, probably was 3.
That was 3.
But either way, my point is, well, I guess my point has been proven a little wrong. But either way, we don't usually go back. We don't usually go back and play these old games often.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So-
but I think the better way
Yeah,
to
right.
really word this too is that like it's not the fact that we want to like be able to play the old games now, but it's like the idea of like being able to still have it with us so that whenever we want to sit down and play it, it's there, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I get
no.
that.
So like I was saying earlier, but before you were here, Victor, I'd be so frustrated if I went back to go and play World at War, like the campaign or the zombies, and I could no longer do so.
Yeah.
You know what I'm frustrated about though? Like Operation Flashpoint Red River.
Oh my
Um,
gosh! Yes, I agree. with you.
That's not a game that I don't think a lot of people would know, but it is a game that was very fun. It was a
Mhm.
tactical shooter, not necessarily milsim, but it was trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
But
we had a
they-
lot of fun playing that.
it was definitely a lot of fun. We can't play it anymore.
RPG.
We can't play it anymore. The problem is because he uses
pretty
Games
much
for Windows
updated.
Live.
Yeah. It
Mhm.
was
Games
pretty
for
much
Windows
updated
Live, which is a
service.
Microsoft client that was integrated into games, but Microsoft discontinued their support. So
Right.
we can't actually log into it. We can't log into the client. I'm sure the game is still fully functional, but the client itself won't let us log in, so we can't play it anymore, which is
Mhm.
an
Yeah.
absolute shame. And that's one of the things that bothers me a lot. So it's
Yeah.
very similar to what's going on here with all these
The
games
crew.
being, I guess, a multiplayer and server-based games.
Yeah. Like in this case, it's straight up like we'll call it what it is. These aren't really like digital like ownership games now. These are just straight up like we're just buying our right. They're just buying our way to play the game. That's what it is. We're just
Yeah,
only
it-
paying for the right to play the game for a bit, and then we risk in this case what happens if the studio goes under. That's literally in this
Mhm.
case what everybody fears with every MMO they play. Like what happens if the game doesn't do well and the studio shuts down? Such as
Yeah,
I'll put an
it should-
example.
True. One run real quick before you do an example. My
Mhm.
question is, when you play MMOs and you're afraid that an MMO is gonna like shut down its servers, in reality, what do you expect? Like no one person can handle an entire MMO server by themselves, so they need the company to do that.
Oh, I know that. I think
So,
they
I
do
mean-
know that too. but it's the fact that it's a fact that matters. Like they don't want to like see the amount of time that they put into the game just disappear like that. Which, if
Yeah,
anything,
but that's
like,
not under your control. So
yeah, it's none of their control. But it's like I'm just saying that out of in like an emotional standpoint, it's valid what they're feeling. That it does genuinely suck, but like what you said, what can they really do about it?
And what I'm gonna
Well,
miss
well,
from
well, well.
Red River is hearing Garagungung Walo. Well,
Hey
gotta
man, we
miss
can't
that.
be saying that.
Well, I don't even know what
Well,
they're
it's,
saying.
it's part of the game, so you know
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah,
He's not saying random things. Well, technically he is, but
yeah.
But it is part of the game. I can't confirm.
yeah.
But yeah,
You know what they can do if these
Mm.
game companies allow it. They should run their own community servers.
Yeah, like I think that was something before too. Like I think this is something that we can actually look back into the way that maybe not battle.net used to do. Actually kind of a little bit, but it was essentially like there was like a server that Blizzard at the time they were hosting it there too, but it was mostly like peer-to-peer or ad hoc essentially.
For which game?
Like StarCraft, like the original StarCraft.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, StarCraft's like a 2-player, right?
Yeah, it's mostly a 2-player or 8-player like battle, depending on how you want to do it.
Yeah, but either way, that's not big, so that's peer-to-peer is fine in those cases.
Yeah, but that's the problem right now too, where there's not a lot of games that do straight peer-to-peer.
Here's my proposition.
Mhm.
We follow the crypto way of doing things. We decentralize the server.
Oh my god.
Everybody runs their own nodes,
Hmm.
and we can run an entire MMO off of everybody's network.
Now that would be something too, but I don't know what type of fucking like restructuring that's gonna look like to us too, or how many fucking more gigs of space do we need to have to incorporate a lot of stuff. Now at this point, I'm just telling to everyone else listening, just buy your own like server rack, easy.
Yeah, no need, man. It's not like super resource intensive as you imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah.
crypto wise, the blockchain anyway. The blockchain is not like as resource intensive as you imagine. But
Yeah.
if everybody runs their own nodes, then that means we can like have a server that's always up.
Yeah.
Decentralized server that's always up and not dependent on a company.
Yeah. I think that's something that probably it might have to be like slowly introduced, like at least that concept to the mass public, because that's something that I don't think a lot of people think about initially. Like they want like
I'm
some
sure
ways
they
to be
don't.
able to, like if anything too right now, the current argument is so that one, it's just making like specific games that if anything, if you were to take away the online features of it too, that's completely fine, just as long as it doesn't touch like the core features of the game. Like the core features that you can at least still play offline, right?
Well, the
But,
argument now is that the core feature of the game is multiplayer,
like
online
it's
multiplayer. So
yeah, it's like it's intrinsically it's you can't really separate them anymore, which is like
yeah,
one of those things that I do believe that it does need to be addressed too. Now, I wouldn't say this should apply to every game, right? Because let's take League of Legends for example. I don't think anybody would want to play that game single player, just because all you're really fighting against at that point are just bots. And let's be honest too, the bots in that game are not that great.
Unless you play Doom bots.
Yeah, but they're never bringing that back, Loy.
Bro, Doom bots aren't any special, bro. All they have is like 1,000,000 health, and that's it.
Yeah,
They do the same thing as normal bots.
They shoot tons of laser beams in every direction on their top.
Yeah, exactly, bro. That's nothing.
just
bro.
dodge them. It's a skill shot.
bro.
When it covers the whole map.
Yeah, you can
No-
still dodge it. Just iframe it.
Brian, shut your fucking ass up.
Hey, you know they should add it. They should add machine learning to League so that the bots can actually learn how you play and be better than you.
Oh man, learned
Oh,
something from Tekken.
I suck.
Oh well.
The what now?
Yeah. I was like, learn stuff from like Tekken. Rise should learn something off of Tekken then, because that's what their bot system kind of does if you play their ghost bot system. But we're currently detracting from the ones that I want to try to make right now.
Yeah.
The example that I was gonna go for as well too, where a lot of people were fearful of like games that are closing down. This game in particular called WildStar, which it was in this case a very hyped up like MMO, which would have been in this case people were calling this the WoW killer. Which, if anything, if I was looking at it, it has a similar art style to World of Warcraft, and it had like a really cool theme, being like a space exploration game with like a lot of like fantasy like tropes involved. It was kind of cool, but unfortunately, the game didn't do well because of the fact that it unfortunately did not execute a lot of its really cool features that well, such as a all your attacks are skill shot based. It looks cool on concept and paper. It gives you that level of skill expression. But unfortunately, whenever you incorporate PvP stuff, 3v3s are fine, but once 5v5 starts up too, imagine seeing a lot of red boxes overlapping each other and you trying to figure out what the fuck to dodge.
Sounds like a skill issue.
Yeah, it can't be. Yeah, it can't be skill issues if we paint the entire map red.
Just iframe it, dummy.
Yeah, but unfortunately, that wasn't the worst part of like what killed it too. It was literally everything else that they were advertising, such as like job, like you have like different classes, but then you also have jobs too that were going to be engaging. Unfortunately, those were not executed properly because of the whole way of like how do you make these features fun in an MMO sense.
Mhm.
And that it was just a lot of that, and obviously it affected the performance of like keeping players playing the game, and therefore they did it inevitably have to shut down their servers because like yeah, it was a failed project in the end. Now this is sort of less the again what I've already stated or I'm about to restate again. Like a lot of times a lot of MMO players do fear a lot of their favorite MMO games are going to be like discontinued, and there probably won't be any way for them to actually like either pick up the game to just play like randomly as a single player experience. But it's like the nature of it being an MMO, it makes it literally impossible for like a player to ask for something like that. So at least right now, that's why I also want to put League of Legends in this example, because a certain games just really don't make sense if you want to say let's make it so that we at least make it have an offline feature so that some players can still own the game. Firstly, for League of Legends, it's a free to play game. I don't think that game is ever gonna fucking die. And number two, yeah, it's not gonna be able to at all. Like there's no really reason or point to, because a lot of players that play that game, they're not playing it for like a single player experience. And if it were the case, they'll play all the other games. I think the better issue would just have to be like a lot of the older Tom Clancy titles, because I think like all the Ghost Recon games, they are in this case playing on the Uplay services. Now, I don't know to what extent are we allowed to play like the single player campaign without the story. I think we were able to at some point in Breakpoint, that it seemed like we could actually play the game solo at that point and we wouldn't need to be online and whatnot too. And I guess it's also like a lot of features are not really locked behind it too. But then again, Breakpoint was a shit game anyways.
Yeah.
Eh.
It's one of those. It's one of those shit games that were, good at points.
Yeah, it was good at points, but unfortunately, too, it wasn't a game that we did hope that it would be. Wildlands was also like kind of similar in that boat, but I feel like Wildlands is better at some things that Breakpoint isn't good at.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, I mean, in the end, Breakpoint really is just Wildlands 2.0 in a different setting.
Yeah, in a different setting.
I actually did enjoy Wildlands far more than Breakpoint myself.
Yeah, because let's look into like some of the things that we at least are gonna be talking about here. Now, the real crux of this conversation point now is like, should in this case a lot of like now a lot of games are becoming more digitally like available online on stores, and there isn't really a need to make physical copy disc anymore? Do you think there should be a way for people to like still keep a lot of their online library games off of like a lot of the store pages, like Steam, for example. Like we have
Wait, what
like,
now?
Yeah,
let's say, let me reword the question. Do you think there should be a way for players that buy games off of Steam that even if the Steam servers were to ever be shut down for whatever
Oh,
reason,
okay, okay.
too,
Mhm.
should the players be able to still have access to those games?
Can't you? I mean, besides the download part, as long as you have it downloaded, can't you play it at any time, even if Steam isn't active?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it
you
writes it
can.
into your hard drive. But to all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
games
yeah.
that you can't install, what
But
happens
but
with that?
but I think a different point. I think the point Brian should have made is that if you delete your Steam account, you lost all your games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if I think he's wanting to know if you can keep those games even after you delete your Steam account.
I see.
Because Steam itself is mostly like a digital distribution platform.
Mm-hmm.
So because of like the nature of it too, we feel like we have a sense of like owning it because we are like so used to having Steam available for us to just have a library of games for us to play. But it doesn't help the fact that there are some other players that don't have the thought of like what happens if Steam just shuts down for
Yeah.
whatever
But
reason.
here's the problem though. Even if you buy a physical copy, which I've done, not like recently, but long ago, physical copies just give you the code to Steam or EA or wherever the distribution platform is.
Well, at least not like for my case, I still remember like a hard disk still,
Mhm.
like some of the games. But then again, those were mostly console stuff, which if anything, I'm fine with that. But
Well, even consoles
even
now require you to download it.
yeah,
They
which
don't
is
use
like
disk anymore.
yeah, which I guess it makes sense too. Where a lot of the games, like here's the thing too, it makes sense where some games are only available digitally too, because a lot of those games can be fucking huge. Look at fucking Call of Duty for example. How big was that? It was almost a terabyte size game, right?
Excuse me.
100. No, it was 100 and something
200, bro.
gigs.
Sorry, 200. My bad. My
It
bad.
was
I was
200.
What kind of games? Fucking terabyte. The hell?
Look, man.
Arc. Whenever you download a lot.
Oh god. But
Yeah, my 7 games that I downloaded.
oh yeah, GTA 5. God.
I'm
The
terrified.
GTA 5 for the 7th time.
Yeah. But it's like but
Yeah.
this is in this case we already know like the fact that the games are just growing ever so bigger, right? So obviously space is only going to be so limited and it's obviously not going to be able to like be stored into like a hard drive disk or not hard drive disk, just a hard disk at all that we can sell digital copies. At least that was a narrative for a while until Baldur's Gate 3 came by. Look, all I'm saying too, is that like in Baldur's Gate 3, you can buy a lot of it through digitally, but they also provided in this case you can actually buy like a hard game disc too, because you can play the games on like other like consoles, or if anything, if you want to be able to own it as well, you buy like in this case their definitive edition, which allows you to buy a hard disk of the game itself, hard disk
That
copy of the game.
means you have to pay more for it? Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, you pay more. Yeah, we're getting to the point too where like yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. I mean, yes, it's nice that they give you a hard disk, but let's not overlook that they have their own client too. Is that
Yeah.
server supported? So that if Larian goes out of business one day, will we still be able to play the game?
That is also interesting too. I'll probably have to look into that as well. But half the
Probably
time
not.
too, a lot of Larian games too, they mostly like it's intended to be a single player experience. The co-op feature
that's
is more or
fine.
less like yeah.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying they still have a client that they
Yes.
use in order to start up the game. Is that
Yes.
client offline, an offline client, or does it require to be online too?
I don't think it needs to be online. When I was like when I was like over like at the hotel and I didn't get my Wi-Fi in yet, I actually did start up Baldur's Gate 3 just fine without a network connection.
Okay, just making sure.
Yeah. Because like again, it feels like on the certain levels in cases too, a lot of the games they do a good job at least like allowing so that majority of the features are not like tied into like any online services, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
But however, it still doesn't help a lot of people's like nerves, especially in the case of like a lot of future games now where it's mostly just, oh, you could play the single player experience, but it's like, again, when I mentioned like DRM stuff, they need you to be online just so that one, it's to like prevent like piracy to happen. Here's the funny and interesting thing about that. Remember how I said I pirated most of like the Mass Effect games too? It all comes back around too, because eventually I ended up buying the Legendary Edition of Mass Effect, which has all of the old Mass Effects 1, 2, and 3. So in the end, I still bought the game, even though I pirated the games initially.
Yeah, but that means you only bought it once when you should have bought it twice. Come on, Brian.
God damn it.
Come on, Brian. That was the whole point of this whole Legendary Edition or whatever, whatever it's called.
He's like, yeah, but if
Why do you
anything,
remaster a game, bro? Why do you remaster a game so you make
Yeah.
people buy it again?
it's like, God damn it, Square Enix is on to us. Square Enix just wants money, which if anything, I don't
Every
blame them.
game company that remastered wants you to do the same thing, bro. They want you to buy it a second time.
Man, looks at all the Final Fantasy and now Persona 3 players.
Hey, fuck off.
Call of Duty.
Don't you disrespect their name.
Hey, man, I'm just saying. Look, it's kind of just following with Victor's narrative. But there is a very interesting statistic I found too that, like, even though there are like people that pirate games, it is still by far like a very small like population of gamers that actually do pirate games regardless.
Yeah, nowadays for sure. Back then, maybe it was bigger.
Maybe it was bigger, but nowadays it's just becoming more inconvenient to try to like get pirated games now. But it's all because of the fact that like companies have like cracked down on it. Which, if anything, it's for the company side, it's good, right? For the players, and you know what? It's fine anyways. It's actually much more easier, convenient to get
Honestly.
some of these games.
My concern with pirated games is that there could be a virus in them.
Yeah, that is always the number one concern, for sure. But right now, there's now like a very interesting discussion too of the fact that someone said to look, it's not piracy if I never own the game in the first place, which is back to the narrative of like you will own nothing and you'll be happy for it. Which is just like, okay, cool. If I never owned it in the first place, it's not stealing. So,
Well, I mean, that's
it's like a very much a very
you're completely disregarding the fact that somebody else made it.
yeah, it's the if anything
yeah,
that
you're stealing.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much what I heard, what people say about it. And I'm like, it's still bad in the end, regardless. But I think what a better way to like really question is like, where does like emulation put into place here? For those that don't know, yes, emulators are still a thing in this time of days too, because a lot of people like to like play a lot of old like N64 or even like PS2 games on their PC.
Yeah,
I've been wanting to emulate Time Splitters for a while.
Yeah,
I'm trying to play Dynasty Warriors 3 again.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't say it.
Yeah, I was thinking about it too.
Like, let's be honest too. There's even the point as well too that like again, people have actually like tried to run an emulated game of GTA 5, but it's for one reason alone. It's because of the fact that in the 1.0 release of GTA 5, it had like a fully completed list of songs that it still had. Over time, Rockstar has been slowly removing songs as soon as like their license agreement like gave up. Or their license agreement like
that's hard to maintain. That's why emulators exist, so that way you can play older stuff with music.
Yeah, older stuff, or like in this case, a 1.0. But a lot of times there are some people, or at least I hear a lot of companies that want to like shut down emulators too. Nintendo, for example, they really don't want you.
Nintendo wants to shut down everything that's not made from them. That's not official.
Yeah, and it's such an archaic way to really go about it too, because it's just ruining the image of like people that play Nintendo games or that like, in this case, Nintendo. But if anything, it doesn't really matter too much since we have like diehard Nintendo fans. Those are the only reasons why why they think they are allowed to do this. I'm gonna be honest. But in the general senses too, it's such a tragedy too when I also hear like on the news like a very like renowned like emulator company too. Given this is a little bit of a mixed bag here because this emulation group too that was like emulating a lot of Nintendo DS to even up to the Nintendo Wii games, they have been like receiving cease and desist letters from like Nintendo, and if anything, they have to go through court, and it was to the point as well where they had to shut down because of the fact that they financially could not like keep fighting to like protect themselves anymore. So therefore, it went down. However, the same emulation group has a lot of criticism of, in this case, hey, in order to get this emulation software, you had to pay us like $30 to have access to it. I was like, what the fuck?
You know,
Oh.
fucked it right off.
Yeah, and it's most of the time
Was
like
that the-
what we think.
Is there a reason? Like,
It was
license or anything?
no. Like the emulation creators, they just wanted money.
No.
Well, there's always a reason why they want money, man. Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's like for them, it's because like they needed to pay like their software developers to make the emulators, because obviously to make
makes
an
sense
old
to
game
me.
to make an old game run onto a newer computer, it's a little bit weird. It's lots of
I'm
weird
sorry.
things.
I'm
can
sorry
happen.
that these people don't want to work free for you.
Yeah, exactly. Or if anything, just be the good Samaritan. Just say make it an open software. So, not open software. I forgot
Well,
what it is.
Open source, but that's
Yeah,
a
open source.
choice.
Yeah,
They didn't make that choice, so
yeah, they didn't make that choice. So
okay. Honestly, you're. I'm not gonna point out you specifically, but this idea of making things open source just because it's free is a very bad mentality for software.
it really is. But right now, this is just like an example, at least, right? Like a lot of the times, too, when we pick up stuff, everything is argumentative in the first place. Like, there's no like definitive like if I choose this is what it means, but there's also other things that are happening in the background anyways, and I can't really cover a lot. So I'm just using that as an example, just because despite Nintendo was justified for doing this, it still doesn't feel great for the majority of the player base anyways, because a lot of Nintendo fans, they want to be able to play like the older games, and sometimes like with stores, they don't always like keep those in stock anymore, or they don't keep it in stock anymore because it's like the end of life or end of life shelf and whatnot. And if you don't have, like in this case, the console required to play some of these games just because it's old technology, your best guess right now is to do it on an emulator where you have a computer that you can maintain. That's at least like something that people want to like push for, so that it at least like gives the consumers rights of protection if companies were to pull shit like this. That's all that's really what being pushed for. What I want to ask you guys, if like, would there be a game title right now? Would it be better if, like, let's say you would like to have it, like, not necessarily installed into your hard drive disk, but maybe like you could have it somewhere else that at some point you could probably tap into it and just be able to play the game again?
Yeah, I want to make a cloud server that stores all of my old games, and then if I want to play, I just hop on that. Honestly, though, with all these old games, I have a ton of Xbox 360 games that I have in a box in my closet, but I haven't touched it in years.
Yeah. But it's fine anyways, too. Like, even if you don't touch it too, it's like it's one of those things too that like it's the idea and the notion of like being able to own something.
Yeah, you
right?
still own it. Like it's not like
But
unusable.
I understand that, but why is also my question.
My what?
Because, but why? I mean, why? Why do you? Because there are times where you just want to clean up things and you want to give away things. Because eventually, some of these games I've given away a lot of games already too.
Yeah, I
Sure.
mean, no, that's
So,
fine too.
I mean,
Like,
I'm just saying it's very interesting. This whole idea of like just really wanting to own something is very. It's not a
There's
terrible
difference in
idea. Don't get me.
mentality.
It's not a terrible idea. Don't get me wrong, but it's just interesting. Since technology and just since people's lives evolve every day, you know, our needs change and our desires change. We
Yeah.
can't always hold on to one thing.
I mean, that's perfectly fine still too. And like I said too, it's just the fact that things like that too, being able to tangibly hold things that we own it, is something that's already like something that's validating enough. Now that everything is like all digitally online too, it's really hard to like have that type of connection. like for me, I probably, if I find something in my closet, I could find all my old PS3 games, and I would still keep them too. Just because for me, I like to carry them for a lot of sentimental values. People would still, if I could find like the cable to power up my PlayStation 3, I'll fucking do it. But
Yeah, like things like phones or like iPods and things like that. Of course, I'm not going to keep those, but I don't know. I think games are just different to me because growing up on them, you know.
yeah. So
Like I feel like if I was like a phone fanatic, then yeah, I wouldn't be getting rid of those. If I was like a shoe fanatic, I probably would have all my shoes or take care of all my shoes regardless. But I'm a gamer and I like games, so I'll try to keep my games from like functioning and running and being something I can play at any time, even
Yeah.
if I don't plan on playing it for a few years. I don't know. It's just a mentality thing.
yeah, and I even have like in this case, or I've seen like comments too of like younger people that just says like, man, I kind of wish I had like your guys' setup too, where they see like videos of like people that are roughly our age or older that just shows them in this case their game room with like a large collection of just disc games that are just lined up in a shelf neatly, and all of the consoles that they have owned over the years. And it's like the idea of them being able to just turn on a console and then just put in a disc. It's simple as that.
Like I still wish I had my original Xbox and that I still had my Mechasult 2 game. Like that game was fun. But I don't have them anymore, and I don't think I can emulate it.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I probably could, but I haven't gotten around to emulating it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just different.
Yeah, and obviously too, like this is already good enough anyways, because me, Loy, Michael, and Victor here, we all have different mindset or different perspective of like how we view games in the first place. And if anything, every one of those opinions are valid. But again, it's just to make sure that there is at least some form of consumer protection right towards us. Especially like right now, there's a current thing that's happening with like Battle.net or Blizzard like clients right now too, where if you do not agree to its current end user license agreement or something like that before you log in, and if you don't accept it, you cannot actually log in or out of the Battle.net, and you can't play any games at all either. You're just stuck. Like that was the thing that's happening right now too. I don't know if that's ever been addressed, but
it's kind of like a thing for most end user license agreements. Like you always kind of have to accept those, or they're just not going to let you play the game.
yeah.
That's just
But-
everything you use, every software and everything you use in general.
That doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily sound any different, in my opinion. That sounds status quo.
The funny part about it too is that like it's for people that are currently on. It's like if they decline it right now too, the only way that pop-up comes up again is if you log in. But because they're already logged in and they can't log out.
Oh, so it's just like a weird loop that they just
now that's
stuck in. Okay, that's different.
Now that's a little dumb. You can't log out. Like what company is that dumb to not let someone log out?
Hey Blizzard.
You can never leave. No one enters. No one leaves.
Yeah, this is sword art, bro.
God damn.
This
Except
is
it's
legitimately
worse.
sword art in the making.
Except it's worse. It's just worse because you can't die from it. You're just annoyed.
Yeah. Perpetually stuck. This is purgatory.
Yeah, this is worse. Objectively, it's worse.
Yeah.
But if anything, right now with the topics here too, do you think right now with like let's say the impending like horizon of a class action lawsuit for a lot of game industries to like prevent let's say scenarios like The Crew to happen, do you think other studios would have to just straight up change, or do you think this would just be like ignored? Like a lot of other things that we try to push, like in this case, we don't want DRMs in a lot of our favorite games now, but it's here, and so far it's not like that intrinsically annoying anymore. But it's the whole idea, like, do you think that this would actually change anything? If we were to like push through, say that we need more like better consumer protection rights, such as an example, it would allow people to like pretty much run the same way how people that run emulators, essentially. Like they just want to be able to have access to the games, even if
I
the
mean,
service is down.
I'm never
think-
truly against more protection for consumers, to be quite honest. So
I think as long as the game is past a certain amount of years, I think if the copyright ends, it's or something. It has to be past a certain amount of years before you can actually emulate it. You can't
Like-
emulate a modern game.
yeah, no.
Yeah, unless it like after certain years, it becomes like public domain kind of shit, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
So that's at least like,
So these people saying that if you use an emulator, you have to own a copy of the game is not necessarily true.
mhm.
Yeah, if it's like a 20, 30-year-old game, like good luck first of all
Trying to find
finding
a
it to
game.
buy. Like you're not going to. So emulating it, like I probably couldn't find a copy of Time Splitters if I really tried. Like I would have to go to like I'd have to
eBay
probably
that someone
buy it from another person. I wouldn't be able to buy it from a store. So like
Yeah.
of course if I emulate it, and plus I mean, besides the fact that I already owned a copy anyway, if say I didn't, I'd still emulate it
Yeah.
because I can't buy it anywhere and I want
Yeah.
to play it.
Which is, if anything, it's actually really interesting still whenever there's that one point with the Nintendo Switch day as well. They announced, like, in this case, a trailer that, like, on your Nintendo Switch, you are able to play all of these old retro games. That definitely we did not get this inspiration from all of the emulators that we have shut down over the past years. So
I mean,
it's I mean, I'm probably stretching the truth on that one too, but it kind of matches up with the timeline with the fact that how hard Nintendo has been cracking down on like people running emulators or people that are distributing emulators. That
well,
they
do they
themselves
still actively own the copyrights to all of those?
Nintendo, yes, they still do.
Well, then that's probably why.
Yeah. But given their argument being is that it's just an emulator, it doesn't really own like a copy from that. And you can't really like target the customer or consumer base too, because at that point you're just overreaching. But I digress. Things are very weird in like an online space, anyways. It's always been weird, and this is
It's
also
always
why
the
a lot
Wild
of
Wild.
yeah, and this is also why like you see like a lot of these companies too. They're like pushing the back and forth with like consumers and going back on like what's right, what's wrong, what can they not do, what's considered trespassing. Like there's so much of
All
this
I
going
say
on.
is if we tell them no, we'll do what we want, then they can't stop us.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's the same thing right now. What's happening with Ubisoft? Nobody is playing Skull and Bones now. It was like, what do you mean
Wait,
people
what?
don't want to play our quadruple A game?
Bones? What is that?
It's
Yeah, I don't even know
essentially
what that is.
it's essentially like, do you remember Assassin's Creed Black Flag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that, but only the pirate or the ship battles of Black Flag. That's it. And it's $70.
Oh no. No, no, no. You don't get to take a feature of a game and then slap another $70 price tag on it. See, that's what bothers me about a lot of the AAA industry right now is the things that they'll do, the lengths that they'll go to do so minimal work to slap you with $70 again and
Oh, yeah.
again and again. The
Oh, yeah.
egregiousness of Rockstar and their like 7th, 8th release of GTA 5. The Black Flag knockoff that's $70 from Ubisoft. Like they're
Yeah,
just
no.
always doing something.
all
They're
the
just
sports
schemers.
games, all the sports games that are
Oh,
literally
yeah.
the same every year.
All the FIFAs, all the
Yeah, all the sports
Whatever.
game players, you guys are the problem here. You got us into this mess.
We've already talked about it on a previous podcast, but yeah,
Yeah.
no, it must be so easy once you have the formula down and you have people hooked. It's just nothing but $70 every year
Yeah,
from like millions of people.
and this is also why like it's fine
Farming
anyway.
simulator too, man. Oh, come on.
Yeah. But if anything too, do you think right now there needs to be some type of like now an evolution of being like customers being able to store like their digitally owned games right now?
That's the thing. customers, if they wanted to, can do this. They just have to demand it. Like,
Yeah.
let's be honest, all companies will think with money, and if the consumer consistently no longer participates in the schemes of the company, then the company will change in order to take your money again. Like, it's just, I
Yeah.
don't know. You
Yeah,
just
why do
have to, people just have to unanimously be willing to like not give them the money.
Yeah, why do you think microtransaction is now still a thing?
I'm waiting
when
for
we
the
were so
GTA
far
5
against
remastered.
it. Oh my god.
I genuinely can't remember the last time I bought a AAA game. I'm not gonna lie to you guys.
Yeah, you did. It's called Halo
Yeah, me
Infinite.
neither. Yeah, whatever that is.
Halo Infinite. Okay, that's correct, but that's because it was Halo. Like, I don't typically buy any other AAA games, and even Halo showed me that I probably shouldn't be. Right?
Look, it wasn't three. Okay, no way. I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. It was definitely 343's fault. We won't ever stop shitting on them for that.
Absolutely not.
But I'll say this again too. With the current fact too, at this point, do you think right now like there needs to be like a class action lawsuit then for that, or do you think it should just be up to the players like action or prerogative that like if they want to just learn how to make a cloud-based server for yourself that you could download all of your games onto?
That
Well,
doesn't make a difference because you're
yeah.
still relying on a client.
Yeah.
I think ultimately you have to, the player or the consumer.
Okay. Michael, you finished, and I have an idea.
Okay, I was gonna say the consumer is just gonna have to understand that if they purchase particular games, that they may not have it for long. So if they just don't purchase those kind of games, it will show the companies that it's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Like,
So literally just vote with your
buying
wallet.
Anthem, playing Overwatch. I mean, I know that sounds like such an overplayed thing to be like, vote with your wallet, but
But it is true.
at the very bottom line, it is the most legitimate act of getting someone, like a company, to change the way they are doing things is not participating in spending money to further them doing that. Like, it genuinely is. It shouldn't have to get to the point where people are signing petitions to have the government tell them what to do and what not to do. Like, I'm all for it, but like, it shouldn't have gotten to this point. Like, people
Yeah.
should have been able to recognize this, put their foot down, and be like, no more.
Because unfortunately, people are stupid.
I feel that.
Henceforth, why do you think we have games like, in this case, League of Legends that are going around, or in this case, the existence of battle passes, where even though arguably speaking, a lot of these ways how like they are considered like predatory like ways of like extracting money from users. If it wasn't the case then too, and if we all had that choice, that people were smart enough, these features would not have been implemented. But here we are because people will still do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that like for a lot of gamers it is very frustrating as well too, because we want to at least have a principled stand on like we have consumer rights for this type of shit, and then you have your Joe Schmo of a friend in the background that's like fucking paying $100,000 for the next FIFA title. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's always just baffled me that people are like, my consumer rights, while they consistently buy it. And it's like, you do have the right. You have the right to not participate in purchasing it. So why don't you exercise that right?
Because again,
like
people
like if it's like
stupid.
groceries and things like that, it's a lot harder. I'm not saying it's applicable to everything. But for games, like, I'm sorry, I'm a gamer, but I'm not gonna die if I didn't have the newest game. All right, I can actually quite frequently go without buying the newest, coolest game. All right,
I don't believe you.
like,
But
I
yeah.
think if you want the change, you can make the change.
Be the change.
Yeah. What was your radical idea, Victor?
Oh, just figure out how to crack games.
Oh,
Yeah.
We're going back to piracy.
If you want to like keep a quote unquote, if you want to keep your own copy that's not relying on a client, you got to figure out how to crack it so it's not tied to the client anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
figure out how to crack Red River so that I can play.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different story, actually.
That's one. Yeah, that one is a
I
tad bit
meant, I
different.
meant like, I meant like if it's not tied to like Steam or anything like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like I think right now it's just we're coming into that age of like the whole thing becoming like more digitally like available online as well too. Like what is considered ownership anymore in this space?
Mhm.
Like
Nothing.
it is
You
very
don't own
hard
anything.
to yeah.
Technically,
It's
you don't own anything, even if
yeah.
you buy it on Steam and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And obviously too, I don't think like the push for all this is still not that terrible, like what you said, Michael, but it's still like we gotten to that point where like this is what we're trying to like fight for. And it's just man.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know what even the correct course of action would be in this one. All I know is that like individually for myself too, if I did have a choice of like being able to like be sure that I could have all my games available to me, even if like the games have run through their end of life service by that company and it's no longer available, I would still be able to play it. Like, for example, the older Battlefront 2, not the DICE game one.
Mm.
And even the EA, they tried to remaster it. It was actually fucking garbage port or remastered in the first place.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people got mad about. But I don't know. It's like it's very hard to really like tell what a definitive choice it is. Obviously, I think it is like a correct choice and move to like actually like tell a lot of these developers to like stop making games or stop making in this case a single player games be having this much like multiplayer connectivity to it or other online services connected intrinsically to a single player experience.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of
Hey
times,
guys.
a lot of these games they're no longer being made for the single player experiences anymore, and it's all like everyone has to be online. Everyone plays looter shooters. Everyone has to play some type of flavor of a PvP 5v5 or some whack off contest. I don't know.
Dude, nothing was more sad to see Fortnite, like Fortnite Royale take over every game slowly.
Look, man, it all started with
I knew it was
DayZ.
bad when Call of Duty decided to do it.
Oh my god. Look, it all started with DayZ, right? That was like the first time like the player like the literally the way how PUBG was inspired was from DayZ, where it was like an arena like Coliseum like style like survival shooter shit. Not even survival, it was just like an arena shooter. I think that's what it is. It's just a big map shooter.
I actually immediately regret even calling it just the Fortnite Battle Royale because Battle Royale had been a thing far before Fortnite, and I do not want to give Fortnite the idea that it was like the creator of it because Fortnite already likes to take a million things. And
Yeah.
just completely
What do you mean?
warp it into
I want to
something
play.
else.
They don't need that.
They don't need that
accolade.
Yeah,
They
they
just
don't need
Wait.
that on their shelf.
What do you mean? I want to play as All Might, start doing the gritty.
Yeah.
Nah, dude. I want to play Naruto and say Natabayo. You know what I'm saying?
While getting shot at by Master Chief.
All I want
Yeah.
to play is
Exactly.
Thanos.
Getting dunked on by LeBron James.
God, the game is so fucking wild. Like, I look back into it, I'm like, what is happening?
You're happening.
Yeah.
Dude.
But again, Fortnite itself, like, they're not even like the ones that actually explode, or if anything, they're mostly a force multiplier versus like what started it all off. And yeah, we've always had battle royales for quite some time in the first place. It's just now a thing too, because that's what a lot of streamers have done. We'll probably do that as another podcast topic too. If like there's a video that's called like streamers ruined everything kind of shit.
Fortnite ruined everything.
Nah, well, I would say Fortnite is still technically like still a pretty fun, decent game too, based on like my sister playing it. Like, if it's still fun, then it's still fun. I can't be the one to say that like you can't have fun playing this game. I'm not gonna go that far. If it's fun for people, let
if
them.
people have fun playing the game, they can have fun playing the game. I just mean, I don't like that the entire industry decided to like all of a sudden
Pivot hard.
revolve around it because they saw the popularity in which like that the Royale gained for Fortnite, and I blame Fortnite for the the leeching of like the fact that everything else is now trying to mimic it in some way, shape, or form, and
Yeah.
how that's just pretty much like made everything absolutely boring and ununique.
And it's the same way how I would blame fucking Dota that made like the whole MOBA like the esports franchise like blow up, ruined a lot of things. It could be the same thing about that. But obviously, these are some things that if we were to like really focus to a lot of the lawsuit DRM stuff, like it really won't apply to a lot of games too if the games already were marketed to be like multiplayer games, right?
Thank you.
Rainbow Six Siege.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, like Rainbow Six Siege, for example, it probably is like the game that we remember. It, like the original Tom Clancy was like a single player, like squad based shooter games that you had to command like your SWAT team to like go in to like take down like anything that the mission requires of you. And now it's turned itself into a 6v6 shooter.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really hard to really stay to the like we want all these games to be able to play on or like offline, but I think the problem right now is like I think the company should still be able to choose like how they want to make the games. If they want to make a multiplayer game, I would say let them make the multiplayer game.
Yeah, of course. And then let the consumer choose whether they want to spend the money on a only multiplayer game, knowing it won't be something they can hold on to forever.
Yeah.
I mean,
However,
like, if someone wants to still go through with the purchase, they can, and they can support that.
yeah.
But if you don't like it, then you shouldn't buy it.
Yeah. Such as the fact too that like fuck you Nintendo for actually like killing a lot of games or a lot of players' dreams, homes and or hopes and dreams, such as emulators, and also literally like filing so that a Smash Bros won't ever show up in the Evo for longest time now, or they just won't ever show up now. There's no such thing as fighting game tournaments for Smash now because of Nintendo.
What?
Crazy.
Yeah, it's effectively they want to protect like the image of Smash being a party game instead of a competitive game. Which is already kind of dumb and stupid because it's people. They'll find ways to make it competitive regardless. Anyways, that's not the point here. The point again. We'll see what happens with this lawsuit. I'm for the better, like, sure, I'm more than welcome to see like them actually try to push for some things to like give us consumer rights. But do I think it doesn't make that big of an impact? I don't think it will. If anything, because our current state and environment right now is there's a lot more multiplayer games made by these bigger studios. But however, there is still hope. A lot of indie developer games are making, in this case, the single player experience titles or like the more like cooperative titles like Helldivers 2. We'll see what happens in the future, really, because I can't really like have like a fixed opinion about this topic. As much as I thought I did, the more I really think about it, it's become like really hard to pick a side on this. Like, am I for, in this case, like companies have the total right to be able to disable like servers if it doesn't make them money no more? Or do I think there should be some consumer protection rights that should definitely be there should servers go down? Like they should still be able to have the right to play the game if they still have it. Like, I don't know.
I mean, like, yes. But if the game is mainly a multiplayer game, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
By yourself?
Yeah. It's hard for, like,
I mean, for consumer protection, yes, it makes sense. But I strongly believe it only makes sense if a game has some sort of single player aspect to it.
Right.
Because if it's a multiplayer game that needs other people to make it fun, then I mean, I don't know, man. It's hard to keep those kind of games going.
Yeah, and it's also hard to really subjectively tell too. Like, is the game better with people or without people? Just because everyone plays games differently.
Mm-hmm.
So that itself too is already really hard to really quantify or really to like try to make a decision off from that. Like you could, like for example too, like a lot of FIFA games, some person wouldn't mind just playing just only career mode the entire time too, and they'll keep playing career mode for until the end of time.
Me too. When I played NBA games, I only played like single player, the career mode a lot.
Yeah. But obviously there will be people that want to hop on online to just play it every now and then too. Like, I don't know. It's like, should these choices still be available to a lot? And it's like, it's a yes, but also with an asterisk at the end of it.
It's a yes for sure, honestly. Like I said, if it still has single player aspect to it, it should still be playable no matter what.
Yeah.
But new games, even the new NBA games are tied to online. So if the online servers go down, I think you can't even play single player either. That becomes really dumb.
An issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
If anything, I hope this lawsuit would fucking tackle EA once and for all, because fuck them. They are the reasons why we lost a lot of our beloved IPs. Mass Effect, fucking Dead Space, literally any sports games that you could think of. Actually, I don't want to even call that beloved sports game because I don't like playing sports games. Maybe Forza Motorsport, but Forza, it's like its own separate thing anyways. At least I consider it separate.
I agree.
Oh man, I don't know. Like, at the end of all this, where do you guys feel on this spectrum?
I definitely feel on the spectrum.
Damn.
For real.
But yeah, it's like, again, I'm unfortunately, like, I thought I would be able to pick a side, but it's honestly hard. So I'm literally on like the middle of this.
Yeah, there's no side here.
Yeah, because
there's
the
no
issue.
sides here.
Yeah, because the issue itself, it's not like it's right or wrong. It's actually just like a fucking massive circle of like.
It's like everything in life. It's a very complicated answer.
I think to simplify to oversimplify the complicatedness, I would say my ultimate loyalties lie with making sure that consumers aren't consistently robbed by companies of their money.
Yeah.
What that necessarily means, I mean, can mean a multitude of things, like, games that are single player can no longer be played because the company is no longer supporting it. Sounds very odd to me. Like, why would it need that? I think that goes back to the World of War thing, where if I couldn't even play any of it anymore because all of a sudden they took the servers offline. I mean, the servers are offline, but you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden I can't even play campaign. That would frustrate me. And I can see with the Crew, which, yes, it was a massive MMO, but for the most part, it was you against bots, and then the most races, it was. I had to look more into it, but from the sounds of it, it can be played completely single player without any of the multiplayer aspects and be totally fine. And the fact that it's going to be completely just like snapped out of existence is odd to me, regardless of the age of the game.
Yeah.
So I'm basically making sure companies aren't just taking people's money and then breaking the product that they sold them. That's my bottom line.
Yeah. Where do you feel about this, Lloyd? I know we said like a lot of big things about this one. Like, there's a lot of heavily like philosophical like reasonings, like where do we belong in this kind of shit. Where do you feel on this?
I don't think it's philosophical. I think it's pretty much what it is. It's, if it has single player aspects, then yes, I believe the game should be up and running. If it's included with multiplayer and they take that out, I said that before, like earlier, and that's how it should be. But if it's strictly multiplayer, then yeah, it's obviously the game is gonna go to shit. It's gonna cease to exist because it's solely dependent on everybody being together and playing on an online platform.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I can understand why they shut it down and that game cease to exist. But going.
Hello.
Oh no, he left.
Just like assassinated.
No, the technical issue hit us once more.
Towards the
Well,
very end too. That's crazy.
yeah. But
God
I do
damn.
agree. I do agree with him. Any game that's sold as multiplayer only, you are basically, whether you know it, like whether you like really are truly acknowledging it or not, you are giving your money to something that will not last forever. Like something that you will not be able to
You're
play.
renting the game, bro.
Exactly. You're just long-term renting the game for however long they decide to let you rent it. That's
Yeah.
really what it is when you're doing a multiplayer only game.
It
But when
would
it
make
comes
sense
to
though, you know.
yeah, but when it comes to like, so I can't fight on that aspect. If it's a multiplayer only game, of course that means inevitably it will no longer be a game that you can play. And plus, like if people stop playing it, regardless whether the company still runs those servers or not, if no one else is playing it but you're trying to play it, you also still wasted the money, and the company is by all its standards still holding up its end of the bargain. Like you still wasted that money because like no one is playing. But if a single player game is no longer allowed to be played single player because the company is no longer supporting it, that is where I'm kind of like, hey, that's not, we know that's not right at all.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Then it does also like bring into an important question now too, like where would in this case like digital distribution platform rely on this too? Like a lot of times Steam does have like a lot, like a massive collection of single player based games.
Yeah.
So like I said
So
too,
you're saying like when Steam goes down and no one's able to access it anymore.
yeah,
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, and that becomes even more difficult because like I'll be honest, Steam isn't going anywhere unless something just out of the blue nukes the company. Like it's not going anywhere.
Yeah, but you never know though. That's the problem.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it will never be if oh no, is that going to play in there?
Nope.
Okay. It's not going to be permanent.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't see it in the next 20, 30 years disappearing. Maybe changing, yes, but not disappearing. So
Yeah.
I feel like for most people's games on Steam, they are going to probably be around for the foreseeable future. But it still doesn't, it does still have that tendency of we truly don't like own the games that we buy, because the second the distribution disappears, all our money is gone too. Our account disappears, all of that is gone too.
Yeah.
So like it's I don't know how you would change that. The only thing I could say is it wouldn't even change anything downloading all your games, because then you still don't have Steam to play it on. So it is difficult. I wouldn't, that's a whole nother set of circumstances we would have to like really delve into.
We are definitely heavily relying on a distribution platform to keep all of our games together, because you know if we do the same thing we did back. Actually, no. Hold on.
He's cooking.
I'll let Victor ponder on this thought for a bit here, but
no, I'm good here. I'm good.
Okay.
Look. Okay, well, I have to think now because you ruined it.
You bitch. But
bro, I DC during my monologue. I was like, fuck. I was speaking to myself.
I think you cooked too much, bro. I think you cooked your connection too.
Oh, did it happen again?
No.
He started cooking again and it fried.
Yeah, bro.
Oh my god.
He's burning his computer.
No. But while like we'll get that sorted out. Hopefully the next time we run this stuff too, he'll be in a better standing. But what did you have in mind, Victor?
Yeah. I mean, we're too reliant on the distribution platform nowadays. I mean, but either way, I don't think there's a way for us to like get away from that.
Yeah.
I could only see it working if like Steam knew it was about to like go under, and somehow they like some way they just released like a desktop like thing, a desktop application that would verify the games from some. I don't know. Like, see, that's the thing, because then, like, if they don't exist anymore, then the cloud doesn't exist, and they can't search your games because all the games are really kind of saved in the cloud. So
Yeah,
it becomes this. If they know they're about to like go under, or they know like if they're trying to like move to make sure no one loses everything, it's going to be a massive logistical problem that a ton of people are really going to have to put their minds together to figure out, because
This is something
like
that
right
like
now,
a problem that we don't even know how this would be solved.
because like it would have to be that they would move it to something that you download off a site that would just verify. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying it, and there's a lot more complications, but verify that you actually previously owned this game so that you can play it regardless if Steam exists or not. That just comes with the problem that, well, you have 200 some odd games, 300 some odd games, all of them are stored in the cloud servers. So you're not really saving like the 17, 18 terabytes worth of games. So that still leaves the fact that if the Steam doesn't exist, their cloud doesn't exist. So you'd have to figure out how that's going to work, because if their cloud doesn't exist, then how can you really verify anything anymore, you know?
I
Yeah,
think
and
Steam just needs to become. I think Steam just needs to create a blockchain.
That's
yeah,
beyond
just
me.
make it so that
I have no idea.
Distributed. They need to do a distributed cloud system.
like that. Imagine like if they pull that shit again, too. That literally means that Gabe Newell will be Omega based and he will be placard as the PC
What?
Master Race Lord.
Using some
Like,
weird words there.
I know, that's what I'm
What is
saying,
this,
bro.
what is this
Like-
jargon?
like
Using
it's
the
a,
big boy words.
yeah. I'm saying too. Gabe Newell, like the actual owner and in this case the creator of Steam, the client itself too. He's been so far like really like close to the PC gaming community, and he's been doing well with them. However, when it comes to like developers distributing their games onto his platform, it can be argumentative at that point. But
Mm-hmm.
he's been doing right with a lot of gamers. So it wouldn't surprise me either way too that if it does happen too, he'll probably pull something up. But the moment that if he does pass away too, it's literally like a worldwide funeral held by a lot of like gamers or PC gamers across the globe. So we'll see what happens too, just because like even if we had like what you suggested, Michael, that we'll probably get it from another distribution or another place to help verify and help us get the games there too. It's literally like gonna like kick the can to another company that's gonna be in charge of doing that. And we're gonna be consistently doing that until we find like an actual solution. Like in this case for Victor, it'll be a decentralized blockchain of like all of our games.
I don't even know what that's going to look like.
No idea. All I'm thinking of right now too is that like Gabe Newell will find a way to like permanently integrate all of the game files into the internet.
Yeah.
And if we
all
ever
I
need to
know is
download it, we can just get it.
this solution is going to have to be taught, like figured out by people 10 times more intelligent than us, because I cannot fathom a way that we can possibly like do everything.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see too, because like obviously I think that idea might be the way to go about it, Victor. But obviously I don't know when that's gonna happen.
Yeah, fun fact: the entire Wikipedia database is on one of the blockchains cloud storage.
Well then.
It's backed up. It's backed up to one of those decentralized storage. It's pretty interesting. I forgot which crypto it was, but it was very interesting.
Well, hopefully then too. Maybe something good will come out of this. We'll see what happens though. But I think for right now, I do believe too that developers should stop like making like shitty games that nobody wants.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you, Ubisoft. Prince of Persia was probably the only good one that came out recently. Everything else, stop. For fuck's sakes. And stop trying to defend Skull and Bones. Stop justifying the fact that you burned like $250,000 to make this game. God. Yeah, the game is the biggest flop I've ever seen. Well, actually, it's not the biggest, but it's one of the bigger flops in games I've seen.
Mhm.
But
You're a big flop.
yeah. So with that, I guess we can unanimously agree to of like we are definitely for like consumer protection rights, but a lot of the arguments that based on like what games can this apply to, it's very much questionable. Just because like the whole concept alone too is like we want to give you consumer protection, but it's an online only game half the time. I don't know how we're gonna ensure the protection from that, making sure that you don't lose money or making sure the server just keeps staying up. But at the same time, that will be at the detriment of the company too. So we'll have to wait and see how this goes. I don't think like the way how people are going to envision that this is going to do, it's not going to be exactly what they think will happen. Something will change, but we don't know if it's good or bad. I think that's the best way to really end that. I feel like that was a long-winded answer. My bad. but yeah, I don't know. I would like to say that we're smart enough for this too, but at the same time, this is such a hard like way to really say that we have a decisive decision on. I don't even know there is a hot or trash take that we can make out of this. Outside the only take is the fact that Ubisoft is a shit company. But
100%.
everybody knows that. So it's not really a hot take from us. But I think the best way to really end it off as like, yeah, I think right now, I think we'll still be okay in the foreseeable future, but it definitely is something that we do constantly worry about for sure. But it's not as like big enough where, oh no, I'm worried about my favorite games over, in this case, the crippling debt that I have. So, I don't know. With that, you guys have any final words to say to our audience?
Yeah, fuck the Discord.
Wait, what?
I went on. I got asked a question. I answered thinking I was heard, and I was like, "Fuck!" I just realized my Discord icon is not on.
Well,
Rip. Well, it's too late for that now.
well, it's fine anyways. Hopefully, it'll be better next week. So, with that being said, boy. Well, any other thing you two want to say?
I think I
I'm
pretty
good.
much said my piece.
Yeah. We've already gone to the point. It's already the hour 30-minute mark on this stream right now, too. Thank you all for coming and listening to us ramble. Mostly me rambling.
Well, no shit.
Man, I know I'm the host and I should be saying a lot, but goddamn. I feel bad because I ramble, even though it's like it's part of my position as like the host of this.
Abuse of power.
And it's not really abuse of power. It's not abuse of
Mutiny.
No. Shut the fuck up.
Mutiny.
Don't make your name tag go upside down.
Bet, do it, bitch. I'll be aisle.
But anyways, good night, y'all. I'll see y'all next Saturday.
Aisle.